Conditions May Apply by CinnamonPinecones. Read by Distracted by Books. Chapter 38. Dials 911 on microwave. 6 a.m. rolled around far too soon, but they couldn't even blame anyone but themselves. They should have known that Eraser was going to be too stubborn, no matter the time they chose. 6 a.m. was too early. Who the heck's cooking up meth at 6 a.m.? When they rounded the corner where Eraser said he'd meet them, they almost burst out laughing. He was just standing there, holding a lunchbox in each hand. He looked like a little kid about to get on the school bus. They held off as best they could, but they still let out a little snort, to which Eraser raised a challenging eyebrow. Okay, he was asking for it now. Did your mommy pack you a lunchbox, Eraser? They taunted. All right. And just like that, you're not getting yours, he said after rolling his eyes. One of those was for them? That's so nice. Oh, they definitely had to be an ass about it now. Wait, oh, what did Mama Eraser pack me? They said as they half-heartedly forced him into a game of keep-away by lunging for them. He just held them both in one hand above his head. Why the hell was he so tall? You're built like a damn tree, you freak of nature, they said as they looked up at him with the most severe stink eye they could muster. Not my fault you're both built and act like a little shit, he quipped back in his ever-present monotone drawl. All right, switch tactics. Time to bring out the puppy dog eyes. Eraser just looked at them, making grabby hands, and sighed. It's too early for this shit, he said as he lowered his arm and handed them one of the bags. Works every time, they said with a smug, self-satisfied grin. Rule number 1 of stakeouts, always bring snacks. Coming here empty-handed was a rookie mistake, he said as he shook his head at them, no doubt hiding a grin under his scarf. Ivy started rooting through the bag as they walked. There were some onigiri and chips and even some sweets in there, and in the little side pouch was a water bottle. This was so nice. Did he really pack this himself? On the other side pouch that didn't have a water bottle in it, they found what looked like a Bluetooth earbud. What's this? They asked, holding it up to Eraser. It's a comm. It's already paired to mine. Thought we might end up needing to stake out different points of view, he replied. Holy crap! This was a real, genuine, 100% authentic piece of hero support gear, and Eraser was just letting them use it? Okay, maybe today wouldn't be so bad. Never mind. Today was awful. They'd been here for 3 hours, and nothing had even happened yet. At one point, someone turned a light on inside the building, but that was it. This was easier when they were by themselves. They could just kind of zone out and just turn their brain back online when they heard or saw movement. But with Eraser here, they had to actually be aware of themselves. They'd been told on more than one occasion by classmates how creepy they looked when they did that, and they didn't need Eraser to think they were any more of a basket case than he already did. Spending half their attention on making sure they weren't being weird wasn't helping their focus either. And Eraser was just sitting there, eating like one chip every 15 minutes. Never mind, Eraser was the weird one, not them. Who eats chips like that? You eat chips like a psychopath, they said after he ate his 4th chip of the hour. The heck's that supposed to mean? He shot back after he washed it down with coffee. Wait, why didn't they get coffee? Hey, wait, why do you get coffee but I get water? They complained. You're like 4 feet tall. I have no clue how old you are, and you're already insufferable as is. I am not adding coffee to that equation, he replied without looking away from the warehouse. Okay, fair. Rude, but fair. You think I'm not old enough to drink coffee? What am I, 10? They shot back. See, already insufferable. No coffee, he said, deadpan as ever. They picked up a piece of gravel from the rooftop and threw it at his shoulder, and he finally tore his eyes away from the complex across the street. I was kidding, but you're not making a good case for yourself, he said with a disappointed look. I didn't know if you liked it or not. Do you? Okay, that was another fair point. They just shrugged, and Eraser let out an exasperated sigh, rolled his eyes, and went back to watching the warehouse. At 11:30-ish, Eraser started packing up his things and stood to leave. Where are you going? They asked. You haven't touched your food. I'm going to go find another lookout station on the other side so you can eat. Put the comm in. Left ear. Let's make sure it's working before I go, he responded. That was so nice. Why was he being so nice? They practically forced him out here at 6 a.m. on less than 5 hours of sleep, and they were truly insufferable at the best of times. Why was he being so considerate? You don't have to do that, they said hurriedly with that damn stutter. I can go find somewhere else, really. You already brought me food. Just stay here. Eraserhead looked back at him with an arched brow, clearly surprised by the sudden change in character. All right. You know the area better than I do anyway. Hit the button on the side of the comm. There. Yeah, that one. Is it working? It was strange to hear his voice twice over. Yeah, it's working, they confirmed. All right. Let me know when you're in position. Hit the same button to turn it off. Otherwise, it will just stay on, and I'd rather not hear you chewing directly in my ear. Chew directly in your ear. Got it, they said, as they turned and scaled down the side of the building. Your dramatic exits don't work when I can still call you a little shit, Ivy, they heard Eraser say through the comms as they made it back to street level. I don't know. It was still fun for me. They couldn't see him roll his eyes, but they were sure that he did. When they settled into position on the opposite side of the lab from Eraser, they let him know and turned the comm off. Digging through the bag a little more thoroughly, they noticed that the bento was one of those double-layered ones, and the bottom one held some sort of Western-style stew. It probably would have been better when it was still hot. Oh well. It was still going to be much better than the nothing they were planning on having for lunch. They dug in, and it was delicious. With the second bite still in their mouth, they put their mask back in place and turned their comm on, just to annoy Eraser. What's the stuff in the bottom of the bento? Did you make this? They asked, with their mouth audibly full. Don't talk with your mouth full, you cretin. It's beef stew, and no, I didn't, he responded. It's good. Is it homemade or from a store? They asked. Homemade. Homemade, but not by you? You got a boo, or was it really Mama Eraser? They poked. I am not answering that, he stated with finality. Oh, all right. They made it awkward. Backpedal, backpedal. Okay, well, send my compliments to the chef, I guess. Yep, real smooth. They really nailed that. Will do, he said before the comms fell back into silence. They turned the comm off to finish their stew. All right, note to self, don't ask Eraser about his personal life. That was probably a bit callous, but he didn't even let his students know about his personal life. It's not that he didn't trust Ivy, it's just that the smaller the pool of people who knew about him and Zashi, the safer they'd be. and he was not about to trade Sashi's safety for just the slim possibility of gaining more of Ivy's trust. Ivy had a lot of enemies. He had a lot of enemies, and if any of that ever got back to Zashi, he'd never be able to forgive himself. Zashi felt the same way. They agreed to keep their relationship a secret a long time ago, before they even got married. So as far as the general public knew, they had nothing to do with one another. The comms were quiet for another 15 minutes before Ivy piped up when a car pulled up to their side of the building. Car just pulled in toward the northwest entrance. Same car as yesterday, they said. All right, can you make out the passengers? He asked. Give me a sec. They haven't gotten out yet, they responded. The line was quiet for a moment until he heard the car's doors open and close. It's Tsuyoshi and Takeo Mochizuki. They're brothers. They're from the east side, they said matter-of-factly. Well, damn, that was helpful. All right. Do you know if Ivy cut them off with a shush? Someone's coming out to meet them. They paused for a moment. Oshiro Yori, mutant quirk. You should avoid him. He's got poisonous tentacles like a jellyfish. He waited a moment to make sure he wouldn't interrupt them again. All right. They went inside, they said. How do you know them? Are they affiliated with the gang? He asked. No, they're not. Oshiro's got a cousin in the lower ranks, but that's all I know for sure. They're all locals, though, they said, as if that answered the question. You just know all the locals, then? He asked sarcastically. Yeah? They answered, sounding confused. You know all the locals? He asked again, incredulously. Yeah, at least their faces. I live here. We've been through this eraser. What the hell? How? No wonder they manage this place so seamlessly. They've got their nose in everyone's business. Ivy, thousands of people live here, he pointed out. Yes, I'm aware I am one of them, they shot back. And you can recognize all of them on sight? He clarified. If I've seen them, yeah. What part of I live here isn't clicking? All right. Ivy's a genius idiot. They wouldn't be telling him this if it was a part of their quirk, and they didn't even seem aware that this ability wasn't normal. Ivy, do you have a photographic memory? He asked, genuinely curious. No, I forget shit all the time. Having a photographic memory doesn't mean you never forget things, he corrected. It's not normal to be able to recognize that many people after only seeing them in passing. What? They said after a moment of silence. What flavored nutrient pouch did I have last Friday? He asked. Banana, and you hated it, so you've been pawning them off on me ever since. That doesn't prove anything, they shot back. Damn, he was hoping they didn't notice that. Less talky, more looky. I don't have time for 20 questions, they declared, clearly getting uncomfortable with the topic. Kid, literally all we have is time. Nothing's happening, but okay. He relented. Ivy was an enigma that he didn't think he could ever hope to suss out. Not even if he was given all the time in the world. Every single thing they did or said left him with either a headache or 10 more questions that he had no hope of ever finding answers to. It wasn't until 2 p.m. that anything else of note happened. Ivy. 3 men exited the building's southwest entrance. They are headed east. Stay out of sight, but get eyes on them. The more names we can put to faces, the better. One of them looks like the Oshiro guy you mentioned earlier. On it. You stay put. Staying out of sight is more important than getting their names, Ivy. If you're seen, it doesn't only affect your safety, it could blow the whole operation, okay? Yeah, I know. Out of sight. Now shut up or I'm turning off the comm. Little shit. He watched as they scaled down the side of the building they were perched on and out of view. Keeping his eyes on the three men, he was poised to jump into the fray at a moment's notice. He was so focused on his surroundings, he nearly startled when the comm went off in his ear. The man with the blonde hair is Konda Hajime. I don't know the other one. I've never seen them before. I'm back on rooftops south of you. Should I tail them? Damn, they should tail them, but they can't just give up their post, and he can't let them go after them to Kami knows where by themselves. No, I can blend in easier. I'm leaving my scarf, goggles, and belt here. Come back and keep your comm on, and do not go anywhere without letting me know first. Fine, but I'm only listening to that because you're right. I need to get a damn mask. I think I know where they are headed. If they go to Block 8, come back and do not follow them. What's the range on these comms? Range spans the whole city. We'll be fine. What's on Block 8? Gang territory. I'm keeping an eye on it, but there's not much more I can do. They have squatters' rights at this point, and we need more evidence, a warrant, and a team to take them down. Copy. He followed them for about 15 minutes, and Ivy was right. They were headed for Block 8, another disused and repurposed warehouse. Likely the gang territory Ivy referenced. You were right. They just entered a warehouse on Block 8. Looks like the gang is outsourcing drug work to locals. The second he finished that sentence, Ivy let out the most colorful array of curses he'd heard in quite some time. It was almost impressive, and it must be a skill acquired from spending their time around the red lights. After they calmed down, they finally let out a string of coherent words. All right, get back here. That damn gang was going to be the death of them. Probably literally, but also in the sense that they were getting on their last nerve. They were hurting his people, getting them hooked on drugs, and roping even more of them into their trickery. Kami, they wanted to storm that stupid warehouse so badly. They needed to calm down. Anger was not productive. They knew that well. It never got them anywhere good. After telling Eraser to head back, they took a seat next to all his stuff and tried to take some deep breaths as they fiddled with the gravel that covered the roof. They were still seething when their hand brushed over something among the stones. Oh, that was Eraser's capture scarf, and he just left it here, unattended. They really needed to channel this anger into something, and if it had to be channeled into being even more insufferable, then so be it. As Shota scaled up the wall back to his lookout, he begrudgingly held a little more respect for Ivy. Running up and down buildings without his scarf to aid his mobility was a pain in the butt, and Ivy did it like it was nothing. He should probably do this more often so his skills didn't get rusty, because there was no way in heck he'd be able to keep up with Ivy as is. Any respect he gained for Ivy fell the moment he made it to the roof. They were sitting there taking selfies while wearing his scarf and goggles. If we weren't on a stakeout right now, I would throw you off the roof, he said as he approached them from behind. They shot off another picture with him in the background as they flicked him off. Little shit. If that ends up on the internet, I'm bringing you in, he threatened as they laughed at him. Oh, don't worry, Eraser. I'm not stupid enough to post either of our faces. We'd lose our mystique. This is just for me. It's going straight into the scrapbook. Oh, or maybe a frame. I could hang it by my bedside and gaze at it lovingly before I fall asleep each night. They teased in a theatrically wistful tone. I'm only saying this once. Give those back, he warned as he held out a hand for his things. You're no fun, Eraser, they said casually, but they passed his things back quickly. They clearly caught the threat in his words. After he settled his gear back into place, he turned to Ivy. Head back to your post. Unless something happens, we'll leave at nightfall. Whatever you command, Master Buzzkill, they proclaimed as they bowed to him and took their leave. Insufferable brat. After Ivy informed him that they were back in position, his phone vibrated in his pocket, in case you want a matching one to hang at your bedside. Absolutely insufferable. He saved the picture regardless. End of chapter.